Alrighty, we are going to get started. So today, if you weren't confused last month, we are now on building block 7. We went back, so we did building block 8, youth safety and wellness first, so that we could get through some of the COVID reopening and safety things for you guys. And then we're going to take a step back and look at building block 7, ongoing staff support and volunteer management. This is one of those things that's like really critical, but it's not the fun one, right? So we're just gonna dive in, we're gonna do it, and you guys, then we're done. We've done all 8 of the building blocks, and you guys can take a break from listening to me every month. I'm sure that's where you're at. All right. So just some things to remember during this presentation. We are recording. I'm already recording. And we will make this available to watch on the Idaho Out of School Network website. So if you don't want your face or your real name to show, now is the time to make sure your camera's off and that you've changed your name so that that doesn't accidentally appear. I try not to pop you guys up, but just in case, now's the time to change that. I do make the slide deck available as well. It's at the same place as the video on the website, and I'll show you that later. If you're having trouble with your audio, you're welcome to call in on your phone instead. So that is an option. You're also welcome to ask questions at any time. We have a chat box and you can use that. And we'll also use that spot for polling. So chat away. I try to keep an eye on it. Thank you, Hillary. And we are on Zoom today. So if the webinar is hacked or inappropriate language somehow appears, we will do everything in our power to lock this down, and then we'll cancel if necessary. Also, I'm hopeful that my internet holds out, but if I turn blocky or start glitching, I'll probably turn my video off and we'll try to keep going, okay? So today we're going to look at the goals for the quality standards. I always want to remind you guys what's going on. We're going to look at the building blocks. We're going to look at our standard definitions. We'll look at the book, and we'll go indicator one by one. This is a short one, guys. We only have 6 indicators in this block, so hopefully we can get through this quickly. And I'll always do a resource reminder at the end, show you where everything's at. So just to start off, what are you guys here for today? I think I know most of your guys' answers, but just in case. Or you're here gathering information for colleagues or employees, you're here for yourself, or you started your school day programming already and you're like, I just needed to check out for like an hour and just need a break. You'll put your answer in the chat for me. Great. And it's fair if you're A and B and C, or any combination of those. Some A and B. See, I think I know most of you who are on, so probably guess. If you really need a break and have a slice of pizza, even though it's early in the morning, you go right ahead. All right, so the goals for the quality standards, if you are new and joining us today, we wanted to define what quality out of school time programming looked like. We don't have licensing in our state for most out of school time programs, and we didn't have a quality system in place that helped all the different kinds of out of school time programs that's out there. And so we use these quality standards to give some definition to what quality looks like. It serves as a foundation for decisions and practices in all settings and programs. So it doesn't matter if you're a sports team, a STEM club, vocal choir, right, or your full day programming, or you're a well-funded after-school program, right? Everyone needs some help sometimes making decisions, and the quality building blocks serve as that foundation. We established a set of standards that support the professionalization of the youth development field. And every time, guys, I think I've said this all 8 months, right? You guys are professionals, you're experts in your fields, you're not babysitters. I just want to like zoom my face into you guys. You are respected and well loved, and we need you, and you're professionals. We trust that. Okay? Stamp that, hang it up. And we provide an ongoing framework to advance the field and increase the quality of programs being offered. I mean, that's our end goal, right? Is that we want to increase the quality so that all children have access to quality program, right? So when we're looking at the building blocks, the first big thing is the building block, right? The title. So today we're looking at ongoing staff support and volunteer development. That's the building block. Underneath that is the standard. That's the definition of the building block, and we'll look at that in a second. And then the indicators. So those are the individual actions that help you meet the standard or the building block. So if you are following along in your handy dandy notebook, right, if you have one of these, we are on page 18 and 19. Now, here's my side note on page 18, if you have an original printing, like you got this from the summit last year and you have an original copy, your page 18 might have been printed wrong. So you can find the whole book as well as just page 18. If it doesn't match your survey on the other side, you can get those on our website. If you click on quality and then click on building blocks, we have a little line that says print a new page 18. If you have a newer printing of the book, your page 18 is probably fine. Or if you're looking at the one online, that one obviously has been corrected and is also good to go. The guide is free and you can download it as many times as you want. And if you want a copy from us, we can figure out a way to send a physical copy to you, but you can also print them online as many times as you want. So just quickly, what's your role in the organization that you work for? You design youth programs, deliver youth programs, you deliver and design, or you are here because you're just really interested in staff support and volunteer development. You can put those answers in the chat. I appreciate that, Karen. I really do. Who's not interested in staff and volunteer support? Hillary, you too. Good. Oh, it's a question mark. You're not sure, Hillary, if you're into it. We'll find out. We'll check back in at the end, see if I changed your mind on staff support. Just kidding. You guys are great. Okay. So what is ongoing staff support and volunteer development? So the standard is defined, so the building block is ongoing staff support and volunteer development. So then the standard is defined as quality programs ensure competent, motivated, youth-centered staff and volunteers through effective orientation, training, and a philosophy that values continued professional development. Okay. So what does that look like in practice? Indicator A, program provides new staff and volunteers with a comprehensive orientation to the program's philosophy, routines, and practices. You guys, orientation is important because, right, provides new staff and volunteers with accurate information. You leave them to the wolves, they're gonna do whatever they want to survive, right? Whatever they can. You want to make sure that if there's information that you need to provide about your program, it needs to come from right program. It encourages confidence. It makes staff and volunteers more comfortable. I think probably most of us, if not all of us, have been given a project at some point in our life and we're told to just figure it out. And what's that immediately do, right? It immediately makes you uncomfortable, becomes hard, and confidence probably takes a dip at first, right? So you want to do an orientation because it makes them more effective, right? Boosts that confidence, makes them more comfortable. Now they have accurate information, so now they can be effective in their role, no matter what their role is, right? And it promotes communication between staff and volunteers and the leaders and your admin. right? If they're meeting you in orientation or their management team in orientation, right, then that starts to build that relationship for communication. And it's going to improve your staff and volunteer retention, right? Because you've taken care of a lot of that beginning, right? The more confident they are, the better the communication there is, the more accurate their information, the easier their job is, right? Then they're more willing to stay. So how do you have a successful orientation? I know it's your next question. Be welcoming. That sounds really basic, but write all the welcoming. Emails, welcome packet, welcome announcement to the staff, right? You want everyone who comes into your program to feel like they're a part of your program. Create a process. And what I mean is create a process that you write down. You make a checklist, you stick to it every time you hire someone new or you're bringing in a new volunteer, right? And it does not, and it should not, happen all on one day, right? If you're doing paperwork and HR or whatever on a day, don't make that the day that they also have their policy and procedure routines done. You know, if you can meet staff on another day and have more like a welcoming day, break it up. No one says you have to do all of onboarding in one day, okay? The longer you kind of draw out onboarding is actually better because it's less overwhelming. So that orientation should really just be an orientation, not your entire onboarding process. Okay. Give a realistic idea of the job you're asking your staff and volunteers to do. This isn't the place, orientation is not the place to sugarcoat the job, right? Go back to step one, accurate information. This is the time to be like, this is what happens in our school day. This is what happens when we're doing soccer on the field, right? This is the place to give as much accurate information as you can. Be positive and open and welcoming, but you know, don't make it so rosy that now they don't have a realistic idea of what they're supposed to be doing, right? Explain your program's culture and routines. And then here's a big one, especially for you guys probably in 21st. If you have a lot of jargon and acronyms, now's the time to explain those to people. Just because you guys hear SDE a lot or names of grants a lot or even ION, we do that a lot. I have to remind myself to put Idaho Out of School Network and not just ION because people don't understand. They're going to come in and be like, I have no idea what that means, but probably not going to ask. They're just going to assume that they're going to find out. So explain the jargon. It can even go into your manuals, right? Just have a page of acronyms so people can look them up if you feel like you're going to be using them a lot. Please explain them to people. And then seek feedback, right? Check in with your new staff and volunteers and see if the onboarding and orientation process is going too fast. Is it going too slow? Is it confusing? Do they have questions? So check in, take a moment throughout the orientation process to gather that feedback. Are they okay, right? Don't throw them in with HR and then walk away and be like, oh, your paperwork's done, great, done. Go work with kids, right? We want to make sure that we're checking in and seeking that feedback from them. Any questions on orientations? All right. So indicator B, program provides staff and volunteers with clear guidelines on organizational policies and procedures that are effective, fair, and in keeping with the mission and goals of the program. Where have you heard mission and goals before? Hi, Reva. If your program has not written its mission and goals, go back to building block 1, intentional program design, right? I think I say that every other training, right? You got to start with intentional program design. If you don't have mission and goals, right, you haven't set the identity for your staff and volunteers, right, and you don't have drive and direction for your programming, right? So please, please, mission goals first, all the rest of the process. So I'll plug that one more time. All right. We've also talked a few months ago about policy and procedure handbooks, right? And you may need to create more than one handbook, and that's okay, right? If you have a summer program with one set of rules, and you have a school day program with one set of rules, and you have volunteers that have, you know, need to have a certain handbook because you don't have all the information that you would need in a staff handbook, that's fine, right? If you have a sports program that runs, they might be a different book than your, you know, summer book. So just keep in mind that you want your handbook as detailed as possible, and certainly your procedure books as detailed as possible. So you may not get away with just one book, okay? Straightforward, as readable as possible. Again, with the jargon, keep that out or make a page so you know what the jargon is. They should be proactive and positive and really encouraging, because hopefully that's the attitude you would want in your employees and volunteers. So the more restrictive sounding your book is, the more kind of put off your employees would be. And we know this, we do this with children a lot, right? Instead of saying no throwing sand, right? That's really sounding harsh. We would say, please keep the sand in the sandbox, right? So instead of no cut off shorts at work, you want to change that into a positive, like shorts should go to the knee. I don't care. But if that's a policy for you, try to flip it so that it sounds positive versus putting in the negative. Okay. Your procedures need to be designed to implement well-defined systems using step-by-step explanations that anyone can follow, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then have your staff read your book, right? Have volunteers read your book. They're going to be the ones that identify your gaps in policies and procedures, especially if you're not on site 24/7 with them, right? If you have a summer program and you have 6 sites that you're in charge of, have each site read it to make sure that you're not finding any holes. All right, indicator C, told you this is gonna be a fast one, guys. Guidelines and written policies and procedures are reviewed with staff and volunteers on an ongoing basis. So those are, and we kind of covered again this in a couple months ago, emergency procedures, your abuse prevention policies, your disciplinary procedures, your confidentiality rules, right? All of those should be reviewed on a regular basis. The purpose of your policies and procedures is to create repeatable, reliable processes, right, that don't require administration oversight all the time to keep your program running, right? You want to put those procedures in place and have all of those policies written down so that you guys, as if you're directors or administrators, that way you don't have to do it 24/7, right? Your staff can be empowered to do it because they have a really good set of policies and procedures and guidelines to work from. Right? You want to make your job easier, not harder. Developing effective policies and procedures that contribute to smooth operations is the first step, right? You've written them down, you've made that great handbook, right? But you still have to take the next step of training your staff and volunteers to make sure your policies and procedures are implemented properly. Okay, you can't just hand them a handbook and say, peace out, take care of it. I mean, in theory, you should be able to do that. The policy and procedure should be that well written, but you should also be training staff just to make sure that you're implementing with fidelity, right? Your procedures are going to evolve with the needs of your program, right? You, especially this year, right? End of last year, beginning of this year, maybe through summer, I bet you implemented a bunch of procedures that you then threw out the window and you're redesigning as we speak, right? That's normal, but make sure that you write them down and then make sure all staff knows about it. And you also want to make sure that if you have staff in the field that have changed something, and maybe they told you, maybe they didn't, But if you find out about it, that then gets written down so that everybody is doing things the same way. It's extremely frustrating, and I know you guys already know this, but it's really frustrating when you find out that one employee or one volunteer is doing something one way and someone else is doing the same thing a different way. It's really confusing for kids, and it's really hard to implement. So try as much as possible to be updating your policies and procedures as they happen, and then training on them so that everyone has the same information. Now, this photo on the screen, hopefully you can see it, is of a dear friend of mine. Her name was Julaine Zeiger, and she hated the term hit by a bus. Hated it. She was an inspiration of power and light and love, and so she changed the term to move to Bhutan, because Bhutan was the inventor of the National Gross Happiness Index. And so Bhutan trades in happiness. That is one of the things they track as a country. And so she called it her Move to Bhutan principle, and it's something that I've adopted as well. So the thought is, if a long-standing employee or volunteer moved to Bhutan, would a new hire be able to read the policy and procedure manual and know what to do? And if not, it's time to update your manual, right? Start the handbook again. Try it again. Check in with other employees and what needs to be changed, right? And what gaps need to be filled. So everyone can adopt that now. What would happen if you moved to Bhutan? And let's all imagine it's a beautiful country off of Indonesia. And outside of those updates, and obviously your new staff and volunteer orientation, your policies and procedures should be regularly reviewed, at minimum once a year with your staff. But if you, I would do it at any time you change programming. So if you have new staff or program changes in summer and then one again for school year, do that policy and procedure review again. It doesn't hurt anyone. It's kind of boring if you're working the whole year, but it doesn't hurt. It's a nice reminder just to get them out and make sure that, again, everyone's reviewed it. There's no gaps, especially in the upcoming school year, right? You're probably gonna have to review them more often, make sure things are working. I'm gonna stop here for a second. Anyone questions about policy, procedures, handbooks? Is everyone gonna move to Bhutan?
I'm hoping you're not, Diana.
I am not. I would, but I'm not. Oh, I think I combined, this is supposed to be E and F. Sorry guys, I don't know why D is still up there. I thought I changed it, my bad. So program provides program directors and administrators, oh this is D, with program management and staff supervision training. Here's Michael Scott, he's the world's best boss. So management training is comprised of many things, right? But really should focus on leading, communicating, and interacting with employees. That's what you want your program directors, administrators to be taking training on. It's really critical to program success that your administrators, your leaders, and directors are taking this ongoing supervision and management training. Right, we know that engaged employees are happy and more productive. Disengaged employees are frustrated and disruptive. Right, and that's something that falls under administration and management. So if your employees are disengaging, there could be, this isn't for every situation, but there could be something in management that's happening, right? We probably need to check in. A manager who knows how to properly communicate direction and assign tasks, right? Their employees are more productive and they're less needing to be micromanagers, right? You want to empower, right? This is why we're talking about. We want to empower our staff and our volunteers to do the things they need to do the right way so that we don't have to, as managers, be there every second going, you did it wrong, you did it wrong, do it this way, right? And that's where that training for management comes into play. And here's the kicker, right? There's no universally agreed on skill set for management. Great managers come in all different types and shapes and sizes and beliefs. But then the fallacy is that anyone can be a manager and everyone should just know how to be a manager. And we don't want to be there either, right? Respected, well-trained managers boost morale, and improved morale boosts attention, because we know that really the quickest way to lose employees and volunteers is bad management. We know that. I mean, we've probably all had someone at some point in our careers, you know, high school, college, whatever, that we had a bad manager or management was not great somewhere, right? And morale drops, confidence drops, employees are less likely to want to do anything, and then, yeah, your retention drops, right? The turnover rate gets high. There you go, enough. So your program provides a clear path for staff to develop and advance, and ensures access to multiple staff professional development opportunities, including research-based best practice and cultural responsiveness. And program ensures that each staff member builds a professional development plan that reflects his or her professional development goals. Good news is that's why you're here. Right? ION hopefully helps you in this. We're hopeful that that's my whole job, quality and professional development. This is where I kind of love what we do. And why is professional, I mean, hopefully all of you know why professional development is important, but just in case, right? We want staff to be competent, but we also want them to excel, right? We want you to be up to date on new trends, new information. Makes your job more interesting, right? New information that you can go practice or go do kind of makes you rejuvenate in your thoughts and your, ooh, I have something I can go try, right? And that also helps boost morale. And it helps your staff feel valued. If you pour into them, right, and their cups are full, then they're more likely to share as well. And they feel valued and want to work harder and do more. So creating a professional development plan. So you want to look at your own skills, or have your staff, if you're working with staff, look at their skills. What are their interests? What are they good at? What do they value? And then you're going to have leadership, or if you are working with a staff member, you would look at technical skills, right? What are the skills they need to get their job done? You're going to look at social skills. How are they working with others, right? Parents, students, other staff, other volunteers, if you're working with them. And then attitude, outlook, feelings, mindset, and then aptitude, special skills, natural talents, right? So these are the things that leadership wants to look at when creating a professional development plan. Are there areas that maybe need more help? Are there areas that they could help others because they're really great at it? So yeah, those are the considerations for your professional development plan. So let's continue that. Then you have to assess your program's needs, right? Does the staff member's career path align with the organization's workforce needs? Right? It's great. Not everyone can be the director of the program. So are there other places we can go? What are the needs of the program? And that's when you start exploring those development opportunities. A professional development plan doesn't just have to be workshops, seminars, conferences, and trainings. That's the easiest. That's what we do a lot of. That's why you're here, right? and conferences are fun. I just took the most amazing workshop that had Apollo Ono, the Olympian, in it, and I got to hear him talk for a while. So those are rejuvenating. Those are great. Your professional plan should include them, but they don't have to only include these, right? What are your other educational opportunities? Is there a degree in your field that you want to attain, or a certification that would be helpful? It could be in child development, it could be in psychology, it could be your CDA, your child development associates, whatever, right? There's even some parks and rec degrees in the state. So look at those educational opportunities, see what else you might want to do. Are there new projects or responsibilities within the program that can be gained? Maybe we can't all be directors, but we can, there's a new programmer project that needs a leader. With COVID, you may be redesigning some of the jobs. Someone is now in charge of health and safety, right? That becomes their main focus of their job. So yeah, check out other projects or responsibilities within your project that can lead a pathway for people to advance. Volunteer opportunities. You might have to volunteer to gain a new skill, and that's awesome. There just might be other program, or you can do job shadowing at another program, see how they're operating, come back to your program, reintroduce some new ideas. I know it's kind of hard to think most of us work in nonprofits or not-for-profits already, and volunteering may be like the least thing you want to think about, but it is a good way to learn new skill sets and get new information. Mentorship, is there someone you can be paired up with, right? Or that job shadowing, who can take you under your wing. Julaine, the picture a couple of slides ago, she used to be the head of mentoring for Idaho Stars back when they had a dedicated mentoring program, and that was her thing. She thought that was one of the best ways, and I think 21st you're working on a mentoring portion too, right? Maybe. Anyway, really good way really good thing to put into your professional development plan. It's a plan, right? It's not a plan until you write it down. And then you got to look at it, right? Did the plan happen? You're going to collect feedback to assist in identifying what was going well. Did you actually build the skills you wanted to build? Did you have problems somewhere? Did something didn't work out the way you thought it would? Make a note so you can revise your plan. Oh, well, that's interesting. Observations or skills and knowledge. Let's go. Boop, boop. So you're going to make sure to record any observation of your new skills or knowledge and how they were applied, progress towards your goals and objectives, and observations where skills or knowledge could be applied, and then you could use that for a future discussion, right? You've made this plan, you're learning X, Y, and Z. Here's where you are doing it. Here's where I'd really like you to think of using that skill in the future. Here's where I think that could go, right? So you want both what they're doing now and what they can do in the future. Any questions about professional development plans? We have and I'll show you in a minute, we have a professional development plan, a basic template on the website to help you if you're working with your staff. Think about those goals and timelines, and I'll show you where that is in a minute. Oh, I'll show you where that is now. That was our last space. Let's see if this opens. Maybe. Aha. Actually, we'll just go here. Oh, dang it. So this is our website. If you were on our front page, right, you would go to quality, and here's building blocks. If you click that, you're going to go to where I'll just take you there, where the guide is and where the new page 18 is. If you have an original guide, there's that new page 18. And then you can see the guide. It can also go to the resources there, right? If you hover, you can go to resources here, or you can go to resources from up on quality. And that's going to take you to our resource page. We are currently in building block 7, ongoing staff support and volunteer development. So if you want to kind of get an idea of where you're sitting with professional development in your program, there is a staff PD activity that you can take that kind of just makes you write down how you're currently tracking your staff's professional development plans, You know, have you developed a safe and supportive environment? So it's just a little bit more than the survey that's in the guide, right? And that's under activities. But if you go on to the first one, continuous quality improvement templates, there is a professional development plan template. And this is the thing that you want to give to your staff and work with your staff on, right? What is their goals? What are the steps they're going to take to do it, right? And shout out to Reba and the IDOSTAR staff. This is inspired by their Steps to Quality professional development plan. So this is in place statewide in childcares, and so we've adapted it for you to use with your out-of-school staff, right? And then you're going to check in. It's got a start date and an end date, whether that's a year or that's a semester, depending on your program, or a session, however you want to develop your timeline, but that makes you check on this, right? This can go in with your reviews, your staff reviews. And then if you are struggling to write your handbook, right, and you need just some ideas of handbooks, here's a volunteer orientation manual template. And then here's a couple of examples. We've got Boys and Girls Club volunteer handbook and the Peace After School volunteer handbook, how to train your staff, working with youth and after school programs. And then there's some training that you can take outside of this training, obviously. How to be a coach and mentor, how to record things, volunteer resources, etc. So I highly recommend checking out this resource page if you haven't already, and taking a look at some of these resources for you. If you have any resources you would like to share, let me know and I will get them up on the resource page for you. People always like to see programs that they can relate to with their handbooks and training guidelines. And then just as a reminder, we don't have any more web workshops currently being scheduled, but we do have the 2020 Power Up Summit coming up. It is virtual this year. It's gonna be really awesome. October 14th through 16th. It is $75. Registration is up now on the website. Ooh, you know what? I could probably show you that too. It's going to be cool. This year it's 3 days because it's 2 days of Idaho specific content. And then the third day is going to be a joint day with other states. So it's going to be really neat on Friday. But if you hover over events, you'll see that 2020 virtual summit and you can register right there. Agenda is a work in progress, but it is coming. And yeah, it's going to be really, really fascinating. So don't forget to sign up for that summit. But otherwise, look at that. I got you guys out so fast, unless you guys have questions, and you're welcome to unmute and ask away at any time. No one?